Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at Caldera Park. This is from designing team superstars Wolfgang Kramer and Michael Kiesling, and it's a sequel to Savannah Park, which they put out a year prior to Caldera Park. Now, each of these is the same type of theme, Savannah Park in this one, where you have a park and you're putting animal tiles into it and forming groups of animals. And in fact, scoring is very similar, but there are some differences. Now, you might say, I never heard of Savannah Park. Who cares? Let's take a look at this one on its own. I'll compare them a bit at the end, but even if you never played Savannah Park, here's how Caldera Park plays. Each player is going to have a player board. There's another side of this board that you can use for an alternate way to play, but this is the main playing board here. You have different terrains here, but that's used mostly just as a way to know where to place things. You cannot place things on these geysers, on the volcano, or on these weather spots, but all the other spaces on the board are wide open. Each player has the same set of tiles in this stack, but you're going to be shuffling them and putting 7 at the top of the board. Players will also have 5 random weather tiles down here, plus this sunny side tile. So at the beginning of the game, you're going to take one of your weather tiles, and you're going to place it on one of these weather spots on the board. You can take one of your face down ones or put up the sunny side one. This weather spot shows things that aren't allowed in the places next to it. You're then going to take turns, and there's going to be 5 rounds in the game, and each round, players are going to place 7 tiles on the board. Before they do that, though, they're going to pick a weather tile and put it in the next space clockwise. Again, anytime you want, you can put the positive one out in the next spot. After that, though, to place these 7 tiles, players are going to be taking a look at this board here. And starting with the first player and going around clockwise, players are going to pick one of these animals. So there's 6 different animals in the game: eagle, bear, wolf, moose, goat, and bison. And then there's also this oasis tile or a lake tile. Now, when you take this tile, you're going to place it on any of these spots, except for this one has to go straight up. But if I put this one here, I'll say Bear Mountain. The bear went over the mountain. Anyhow, that means everyone has to put a bear tile on a mountain. If I put the eagle here, that means the eagle has to go on a waterfall space, a wolf on a plain space, a bison on a river space, a goat on a forest space, a moose on any space that's next to a geyser. Now, when you do that, everyone is going to hear what you've said. And so let's say I said the bear with the mountain. So I pick a tile that has a bear on it. So this one has 3 bears, and I put on any mountain spot. That's it. I'm done. And then I'll replace that tile with another one here from the top. Now, if someone said, for example, wolf on the plains, I don't have a wolf up here at the top of my board, so I could pick any piece I want. I still have to put it on the plains. Although, if all the plains were covered up and someone said put a wolf on the plains, then I can put any tile anywhere I want, although at that point you have fewer choices anyway. At the end of the game, there's going to be scoring done after everyone's placed all their tiles. If you've covered up all the waterfalls, you get 4 points. If you covered up all the mountains, 7, 7, 7 for different types of terrain. Covered up the whole river, 8 points. If you completely surrounded each of these geysers, 4 points for each one. And then you score all the animals. So animals, now, first of all, before all this is done, weather happens. And so you'll look at each weather thing. This one here says no bears or wolves can be next to it. Here's one with a bear. So I just turn that tile over, doesn't count. If it was a tile like this, which shows 2 thunderclouds, then anything with exactly 2 on it would be turned over. Oh, the same one. So you got 3 thunderclouds, no moose or water. This would turn over the water too. So different things can happen. And this matters because when you score the animals, you're looking for a family of animals, a group of animals. So here, for example, is a family of bears, all connected tiles. And I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bears total. And then there are 2 of the water spots there. So I'll multiply 2 times 5, and I get 10 points. The sunny side tile, if this had been somewhere, adds an extra animal of every type to whatever groups it's next to. And groups can interlap, but that's basically how you'll score. Whoever's highest score at the end of the game is the winner. I should mention here, before we go any farther, that the game also comes with these nice tuck boxes. Like, hey, look at this tuck box. And this is what you put all your pieces in. Each of the pieces has a different footprint here. And this is not, a completely necessary thing, but I think it's kind of cool. Now, the idea of this one is one that I really enjoy. I call these bingo-esque games, although this one's a little less than that, because in this one, you're calling out a combo. So if you go first, and they make it so that there's 7 different things. So if you're playing a 4-player game, you get to go first every once in a while, because I'm first, second, third, fourth, first, second, third. Now I'm first, if I was fourth before, and so on and so forth. And when you're first, you're like, ooh, I want to make a bear go here. But I want to make a bear go in this spot, so I could pick either bear to the river or bear to the plains. One of those two will work for me. So which one do I want to do? Maybe I want to put something else somewhere. But it's not a very difficult thing. And when someone says bear to woods, for example, at the beginning of the game, I might look at my tiles and say, I have 1 bear. So that's the tile I'm putting out. But woods, I have a lot of options. As the game goes by, maybe I'll have fewer options. So I have to be careful about how I hem myself in. But what I really like about this is that if you don't have any options, you're like, well, you said bear, I don't have any bears, then I get to pick anything. And there's something joyous about that. You're like, yes, now I get to put out a wolf, ha ha ha. And so the game, instead of feeling tighter as it goes by, it feels a little tighter because your board is shrinking in where you put things. It also feels freeing because people will call it terrain that you've covered or animals that you've already put out, and then you can put out anything. So when I played, the last time I played, I was like, I know what I'll do. There's 6 waterfalls on here. So no matter what terrain people call out, if it covers a waterfall, I'm going to do it. That way in the future, anytime somebody says waterfall, I can put an animal anywhere I want. Ooh, that was a good strategy. I liked it. It's just an interesting way to put things out on the board. Also, I covered up all the waterfalls, which gave me a few extra points at the end of the game. You're not going to cover up all the tiles. It's impossible. You only have 35 tiles, and there's more than 35 spots on the board. The weather tiles are interesting because you kind of control it a bit. I'll put a weather tile out somewhere, and I'm like, okay, so that says no animals with 2 next to it. But as time goes by, you're going to put animals next to weather spots in the future. And you don't know what's going to be there, although you can always put that sunny weather out. I guess you could put it out first thing in the game, but it seems like a better thing to wait on. And so you have that little bit of control, and the weather tiles only kill the few tiles next to them, which could make you lose the game, don't get me wrong, but doesn't feel particularly onerous. This is a very joyous game for me to play. I really liked it. I'm giving this an 8 out of 10. It was just a lot of fun to take the tiles and put them out. The family scoring, I think the max you can get is 30, maybe 36, or I don't know what it is. If you get every animal of one type in a group and you have the maximum amount of watering holes there. But I like that concept that comes together, and the scoring is really easy to do at the end of the game. And there's a little scoring sheet that you have, and you can just kind of walk your way through each of the scoring types. The real quick comparisons to Savannah Park, this kind of kills Savannah Park for me. Savannah Park is also an interesting game, and I enjoyed it, but Savannah Park was about switching tiles, having an empty tile, moving a tile to that spot, then moving it, and it felt more restrained. This one feels a little bit more open and has the same scoring mechanisms that Savannah Park did. Savannah Park gave you a little bit more control. It was a little less random about the tiles, but at the end of the day, then felt like you were restricted in what control you had. So this one feels better, more freer, more open. So if I was only going to get one of the games, I'd get Caldera Park. And now that I have Caldera Park, I don't know that I'll play Savannah Park again, although I can see why people would like both. But if you dislike Savannah Park, you might like this one. This has a very different feel to it. I know a lot of people didn't like that switching. It felt very restrained. I think they might enjoy this one more. And if you like Kramer and Kiesling, their combinations, which they've done a ton of, this one definitely feels in there. It's not a very long game. We're talking 45 minutes to an hour, but it feels like a complete full game. You get to make neat decisions, and you're involved the whole time. So Caldera Park, check it out. I'm Tom Vasel. We'll see you next time.